Hello everyone, this is Regnilla bringing you a different type of Monster Hunter video today. I figured, since I did something very similar to the Lao Shan Lung where I did an updated version in Generations Ultimate, I'd figure I'd do the same thing with the Fatalis, since I covered the monster in the last Freedom Unite video, and, well, there are some updates in Generations Ultimate. Should probably say right now that I did not intend to get this video out at this time. As a matter of fact, I was working on trying to do the egg quests in Freedom Unite, and then when I tried to go find those egg quests, I couldn't find them. Just like, what the hell's this? So I was literally searching around from both the village quests as well as some of the lower guild quests, and I couldn't find a thing. And I'm thinking something's wrong here. And I was looking around, and there are no egg quests. So I'm thinking there's just something wrong. You can't have Monster Hunter and not have egg quests. It's way too foreign. As much as I hate them, it's just not right. So instead, we're doing the Fade to Black quest, which is the Fatalis. Now, there's quite a bit of difference between this Fatalis and the old Fatalis that you see back in the older generations. Namely, that this fight is so much better. I mentioned that the Freedom Unite version really disappointed me. This is what I honestly expect to have from a Fatalis fight. Something that is tense, heart-pounding, and just fun. So this is, I believe this is still Castle Shrade, but it's so much different. The entire map got an overhaul, and I think it's for the better. It looks a lot nicer. There is a bunch of stuff to mess around with. Like, I had one comment in the Freedom Unite video saying, why didn't you use any of the siege weapons? So that's the ballista and the cannons. And my response to that particular comment, you know who you are by the way, is that since I have G rank weaponry, there's not really a need for siege weapons anymore. Case in point, the Gen Moran back in Generation 3 of Monster Hunter. When you're first fighting that monster, then yeah, you're gonna need you're definitely gonna need siege weapons to do enough damage to them, because they do a set amount of damage, and you don't really have the gear that's up to par. But when you're so late in the game, your weaponry at that point just kind of eclipses the need for siege weapons. So I went into that fight thinking that I wouldn't need the siege weapons to begin with, but that was a very good question from that commenter. So siege weapons can be very helpful against a monster that, let's say, if your weapon is constantly bouncing off of, like the Fatalis. Siege weapons, in hindsight, are actually pretty effective, and in this particular quest especially, because this guy is trolling and hard. We're all centered around the Dragonator at this point. We want to do as much damage to him as possible. We just want to wreck him. So now we're all hanging around the Dragonator, all except one guy who's taking the proactive approach. But that's not nearly as fun. So we're just waiting for this guy to get closer. And as you can see, his attacks are so much different. They're actually threatening. He's actually targeting people. It's so good. I love it. And in this particular quest, I do go ahead and use siege weapons just for the heck of it. There is a G rank event quest for this Fatalis where he is stronger, and there is a 50-minute time limit. And as much as I love that quest was great, and he hit a lot harder. I didn't use any siege weapons, but I know that someone's going to complain that I didn't use a siege weapon, so I might as well try and go for it. Now, as far as I'm aware, the cannons, which are what I'm going to be using for the demonstration here, they cannot pivot or turn, so I'm just forced to use it in the direction that it's pointing. And in this game, the cannons fire 3 cannonballs at a time, which I think is very useful. Before, and it's one of my aversions to using cannons as a primary siege weapon, is that you only have the 1 cannonball, and it's basically an egg quest with a cannonball. If you drop it, it breaks, and it's just not good. And in terms of equipment that I'm using, this of course is G rank materials, and I'm using the Valtrax armor set. And so Valtrax is, I believe he's technically the flagship monster of Generations Ultimate, or he's the flagship Elder Dragon anyways. There are, I believe there's 4 flagship monsters in Generations Ultimate, and they're all subspecies of the 4 from the Generations game, which, you know, that's just lazy. I'll just say that. And so, yeah, this is very nice late game armor to have. It's very resistant to dragon element attacks. And the longsword that I'm using is the Lao Shan Lung longsword. So this is in the spirit of the Lao Shan Lung, now that I think about it. So the Fatalis was responsible for causing the Lao Shan Lung to run away, and now we're using the Lao Shan Lung to help fight this guy. And he's just a really intimidating force, in this game anyway. In the older games, like I mentioned before, he's really disappointing and he's not all that effective. But you saw that attack that he did. Look at that chunk of health that he just absolutely knocked out of me. And so, believe it or not, him crawling on the ground is actually still kind of threatening. So I don't think it does nearly as much damage, but it can hurt pretty badly. There's a bunch of breakable parts on him. I believe you can break the head twice. Just try to get those horns. And of course the wings, which, by the way, the siege weapons are great at getting. So when he's up like that on his hind legs, then using the cannonballs to take out the wings, especially since you're firing 3 cannonballs at a time, very useful. And I know I didn't go into this last time, but his chest can be broken. So there's that to consider. In terms of the fighting style that I'm using, since this is Generations Ultimate and there are quite a few changes, I'm using the traditional guild style, so I have access to all my most familiar attacks and techniques. So like the Spirit Round Slash, I like to utilize that. Unhinged Spirit, which I really need to upgrade that to something that's either level 2 or level 3. I haven't done every single quest I can, so I haven't gotten all those techniques. But I like to go with an unhinged spirit to max out my spirit gauge and make it so it doesn't really it doesn't go down. And then I just go nuts until I got the Sakura Slash up, and then I like to open with that. Sakura Slash is great when you want to hit a monster in a area where you can't really reach. So if I knock him down and I have access to the head, that's a great place for the Sakura Slash. And you might have seen a flash bomb just go off a moment ago. As a reminder, flash bombs will not work on this guy, so don't even bother trying. It's just not going to be very effective. But yeah, these guys here are, frankly, they're freaking awesome. Like, we were having some bad luck earlier. Had some people leaving, and one guy was able to post the traditional Fatalis quest. So in this case, I think my hunter rank is 52 or something like that. I don't have access to a regular G rank Fatalis. Instead, I have access to the event versions, which are, again, a lot stronger. There's a greater time limit though, so there's that to consider. And so I believe you need to be like HR 90 in order to unlock the Fatalis quest, as well as the Crimson and White Fatalises. It's somewhere between 70 and 90 HR. I want to say it's a 90, because that's what I've been reading. But I believe let's say for the regular Fatalis, it's a 90 hunter rank, and then Crimson, you're going to be looking at, oh, this is great. I like riding this guy. Ride him like a pony. But, so regular Fatalis is a 90 hunter rank, and let's say Crimson was 95, and then White's 100. You have to be HR 100 just to fight these guys normally. But yay, there we go. Fatalis is he's down momentarily, but yeah, being able to get off the mount and then do it successfully is always a lot of fun, and I love that mechanic. I believe that was introduced in Monster Hunter 4, and in this game I think it's implemented really well. There's a lot of changes in Generations Ultimate that are just I really enjoy. But yeah, this fight doesn't take too long. I think it takes less than 15 minutes because we're all cooperating, and plus this particular Fatalis is not nearly as strong as the event ones, so he's not one-shotting us. But there's something to keep in mind is that when you're fighting monsters of this caliber in a group, it's always best to bring life powders, and I believe in this case I have the Dust of Life. So I'm always looking after my comrades, even though I'm probably risking my entire being just going up and taking pot shots at the Fatalis. And speaking of taking shots at the Fatalis, try to avoid the tail. That tail is still ungodly strong for whatever reason, and so you're likely going to bounce off of it entirely. And those fireball attacks, they're pretty scary. And he has a couple of new ones, and you might have seen them already, where it almost reminds me of the Teostra, where he throws out kind of this powder first, and then it just explodes. Like right here. Oh, you can't really see it because of the angle, but you kind of get the point. It's been featured already a few times. There he goes. He's down again. Get a nice shot to the face. And I like that people are still using siege weapons, even though it's probably not necessary at this point. Like, we got one guy that's using the ballista to keep him in place in case he's moving around too much. And of course, we have the Dragonator near the beginning, which that is a 10-minute recharge time. So it's in this case we didn't need it again because he is down for the count. And by the way, you can carve this guy 9 times, but you need to be in specific areas to do it. So I'm holding down A to do a constant carve over near the body area, and I believe then I go up to the chest and go up to the head. Each time you get 3 carves. But you got to be able to get those carves within the time limit, so whatever you do, don't take your finger off the A button, otherwise you'll stand back up and then you'll have to do the animation all over again. It wastes a lot of time. But yeah, that was the updated Fatalis quest in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do next for the Free Unite quest. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in any of my other content, be sure to hit on one of those annotations. They'll be featured at the end of this video. And don't hit me with a lance because that is very rude. But if you do enjoy these videos and you want to support the channel, subscribing is a great help. Until next time though, take care people.